Hello, family. Welcome to JFK Today, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. I think we all know that this here right now is about the debate play. But before we jump in, I just want to give like a quick RIP to James Earl Jones, the legend, Mufasa, Darth Vader, the man, the legend. I was very sad about it. And if you don't know what James Earl Jones looked like when he was younger, do yourself a favor. If you aren't familiar with his art, let his gorgeous face and his unbelievable resonant voice just carry you for the next week. Because, well, what's coming up is, I think it's going to be very lively, this debate. But I'm struggling with getting excited about it. Here's something that does get my attention, though, right? Like, this is what we can expect. We're going to be watching this thing, and if you don't, that's okay. I got you covered. But for those of us who are, we're going to be joining 50+ million Americans in gathering together to watch this great debate on ABC. How great it is, well, we have yet to see. I've got strategies for the both of them. I've got what I want to see. I got what we wish would happen versus what is very likely to happen. But when I thought about how to most accurately capture my feelings around this debate, I could only find, I've read so many articles. I listened to so many people yap about this stuff. And it was a woman, a white woman, who was upset about this type of seasoning in the house that really best captured how I feel about this debate. Why don't we give it a listen?
It's not like I'm offending anybody, alright? I'm just simply saying, I come out here to see you prepping the chicken, and this is the flavors? Salt, pepper, and onion powder. I'm not gonna eat it. There's no flavor in this house. I asked for hot sauce, and all you got me was ketchup. I can't ever go to Flavor Town. I can't enjoy my dinner. I'm done. Stop the films. Seriously. I'm not eating chicken with salt and pepper on it. So, thanks anyway.
We deserve Flavor Town, damn it. I'm not eating this chicken with just salt and pepper and garlic powder. We deserve better. I want to be in Flavor Town. So, why don't I start with just the salt and pepper of it all? This is the Trump play. And when I say the Trump play, I don't mean what can Trump do to win. I think we're really clear that I have no interest in seeing fascism here in the driver's seat, right? However you feel about this particular election, I have no desire for that. I don't think it does anything for anyone, including the conflicts that are happening in the Middle East and Israel's war, very one-sided war on the Palestinian people. So what's Trump gonna do, right? What's he gonna do? This is the thing that got me. Donald Trump has one of the absolute worst track records of any male politician ever in American democracy at the height that he's at. And he is also the only man to run against two female candidates, two women candidates in two separate presidential elections. What are the odds of that? If that isn't some sort of taunt, I don't know what is. So let me bring you back to the days of Hillary Clinton, because I know none of y'all can remember a damn thing that she said. But anyway, here are some of the tactics that he used to completely control that dialogue. So he used a lot of interruption. He made it absolutely impossible for Hillary Clinton to demonstrate her competency or her policy interests. We're not going to see that happen this time around, though, because ABC will be muting those mics. You know it, at that 1 or 2 minute mark, depending on the question. There's no flexibility around that, right? So he's going to rely then on this very not really hidden misogyny. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is a banger line. I mean, fuck him for this, but the comedian in me was like, God damn it. So go back to 2015 when there was the moderator, like Megyn Kelly, that pretty blonde lady, and she was the only woman on stage, and she brought up how Mr. Trump, right? That's Mr. Trump, that's what they call him then. After he called women he doesn't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals, he responded with her question as to, why he says that of women. He said he only believes that of Rosie O'Donnell. That's fucked up, but just objectively, that's funny. I'm furious. I will get him. But that upset me when I read it because that's just a good line. Okay, forget it, right? This is his tactic, and we're going to see this over and over again. And I've watched some of his interviews, some of his interviews, some of his streams, because we can say that about Donald Trump now. He's talking to a bunch of 20-year-old, dudes who don't have anything to do with politics, trying to shore up more votes and more support. He complains constantly that women treat him unfairly. And he says that about anybody who's questioning him. On a previous episode, I referenced the fact that he was there at NABJ, which is, the National Association for Black Journalists or whatever. There was a lot of uproar about the fact that Donald Trump was there at all. But to me, what was most offensive, outside of just, like, what are y'all doing, is they were so woefully unprepared for how contrarian and difficult he was going to be. It's a moment to really, trap him, do something interesting, but instead he just became very adversarial and said from the minute that he walked into the door, he was not treated fairly, and they had him with a black woman moderator, and you're almost guaranteed that kind of response from him. So you can expect that Donald Trump is going to talk about how these questions are not fair. He will also rely on one of those tactics that he used with Hillary Clinton, as in, this person doesn't look presidential. Yeah, but does she look presidential? Here's a banger of a line, and then I'm going to move on, because I really hate when they're good at something. And, this guy is good at talking shit, and it frustrates me so much. Okay, so go back. This is 2015 again. This is when Trump and Clinton met for their second debate. This was at the lowest point of his candidacy. So around this time, Access Hollywood, right, had that tape. Remember that tape? When Donald Trump was in that van and he was bragging about all the women that he'd sexually assaulted, right? The whole grab him by the pussy situation, remember? And that leaked so that had leaked just a couple of days before this debate. And Trump was not doing well. If you recall the feelings around that time in 2015, there was this belief that Donald Trump could not win the election. He was not taken seriously. Nobody was really for Hillary Clinton necessarily, but there was a lot of, I just don't see this happening. So he's at his lowest point. Hillary Clinton has him by the balls, right? He said this awful shit. He's caught on tape. He's bragging about sexually assaulting women. So obviously, Hillary Clinton's aides got her together and was like, this is how you hit him. This is what you got to say. This is how you do it. And so Hillary Clinton decided ahead of time that she was not going to shake Donald Trump's hand on stage. So in response to Hillary Clinton saying, I will not shake your hand, Donald Trump invited women who had accused former President Bill Clinton of unwanted sexual advances to sit in on the debate audience. That's gangster. I hate that. I'm not giving him no wins, but I want you to see all the ways that people have dismissed Donald Trump and called him an idiot and called him a loaf of bread and all these other things. He actually demonstrates a lot of dexterity when it comes to turning the table. He falls apart the second that he has to stand ground on something, the second that he's challenged on something, he falls apart. But the man is very good at turning tables. Now that I've got this part out of the way, because look, Hillary Clinton did not beat Donald Trump. There's a lot of factors. Misogyny, the fact that it was Hillary Clinton, the fact that broadcast media put Donald Trump's face on every television screen endlessly. He was fodder. Ratings skyrocketed. They saw a guy that they could make money off of, and they ran with it. And we are drawn to a spectacle, right? We are drawn to it. I want to say that we're evolved and anything else, but show me a fight in a parking lot. I'm lying, though. I'm a bit older now, y'all. I'm going to be like, that's enough! You guys stop that right now! We have enough things that we're worried about. Anyway, the last thing that Donald Trump has, that we can expect from him, is he's going to try to use his physique to intimidate Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. It's just really funny. I'm like, that little dump truck you got going on? I don't think so, sir. But he's said that, and he literally, this is a quote, no boxes or artificial lifts will be allowed to stand on during my upcoming debate with comrade Kamala Harris. That's what he said on social media, right? He said that would be a form of cheating. I'm like, nigga, pot kettle. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. I gotta say, though, I just want to have like one quick, because right before we move into Kamala Harris's strategy, what she's likely to do, what she needs to do, and it's good. Like, if I've got your attention a little bit, I'm about to have your attention now for real, for real. But I had this moment where I'm like, who the fuck are these women voting for Donald Trump? If you go past the bigots and the weirdos and you go down to like Mahomes' wife or whatever, I'm just like, what are you doing? I'm not going to get into the whole thing with the Swifties because they scare me. You know, wait until I grow in power, though. Just wait. But anyway, I'm like, who are they? Is it the trad girls or is it those weird Mormon mom girls on TikTok? Like, who is it? Because I've never understood this trad wife thing. They run this whole campaign where they're just like, we want to stay at home and cook and clean and take care of our men. And it's like, yeah, bitch, that was the point of the feminist movement. So you could choose to do that. Like, we're anti-feminist. Are you? Are you? Are you sure that's what you are? Are you sure? I can't wait until they write their book, A Broom of One's Own. You fucking losers. Get it together. Like, oh my God. Anyway, I think you've reached the mountaintop, like the highest height of heights of feminism, when you realize that some bitches don't deserve to be saved, but you got to do it anyway, right? Takes a bitch to know one. Like, I be no one. I have, we can't save them all, but we have to, because that's what we did. It's okay. That's what we signed up for. Anyway, here's the Kamala play. Here's the play that she's likely to take that I think is a losing strategy, but here we are. And I'm going to make a case for it as if I don't believe it. So, Kamala Harris is very likely to use the center moderate strategy. So if any of you are out there thinking, oh my God, this is a great opportunity for Kamala Harris to use her prosecutor skills, she's going to do the thing that Hillary Clinton did, and she's going to get under Trump's skin. First of all, ew. I don't imagine it's that hard to get under that skin. That is dry. It's like dry, flaky ash. Like, I don't think that's a pleasant place to be. It's just probably easy to get into, but hard to get out of. Ooh. Anyway, she's going to get under his skin. That's what they say. They're like, she's got to get under his skin. She's going to expose his temper and his misogyny, and she's going to go full prosecutor mode. It's going to be like an episode of Law and Order, right? She's going to show how old and out of touch Donald Trump is and generate a big viral moment. No, she's not. I really don't see that happening. If we can expect everything that we've been seeing thus far, Kamala Harris is going to go the center moderate strategy. What does that look like? She's going to tamper everything down. She's going to essentially try to appeal as much as, like, I'm annoyed. If we go to the swing states, for example, I mentioned what those were yesterday, these 7 states. There are a small subset, right? A small but meaningful subset of people. And remember, I'm making the case for this as a person who is making an argument, not as somebody who is like, she should do this, right? There is a small subset of people that are conservative moderates, right? So that's people who identify and align with the GOP, but not with Donald Trump and MAGA. And there's a case to be made for them, because you know that Dick Cheney came out and then Liz Cheney followed and said, we don't support this guy. This guy sucks. So there is a population of conservative moderates and independents in these swing states that Kamala Harris is very likely to try to appeal to. And what that means, of course, is that she's going to, I don't know, make them feel safe, right? She's going to have a very tepid economic policy platform. She's going to be fair and civil and very not black. You know that code switching that we've been seeing? Yeah, that's out. That's it's full sentences only. No, no rhetorical tradition of black Americanism. No. Full sentences. And look, from a short-term perspective, this makes sense. Vague centrism maximizes a party's potential for allies and minimizes the opponents, right? The more polarizing you are, the more clear position you have for an opponent to attack, right? So, but the big thing is, and this is the thing that pisses all of us off. Wait, I'm supposed to be arguing for this. Oops, okay, wait. Is that it appeases the rich. It makes them feel like, okay, I can do this. Super wealthy people won't support people like Bernie Sanders, but they will support a Kamala Harris or a Biden or a Clinton, right? Because they want fairness, and I'm using air quotes here, I know you all can't see this, but not somebody who's going to be like too critical of them. The other advantage of this approach is that it can, very heavy emphasis on can, it can result in some decent policy outcomes, right? If we look at Biden's policies, his economic boom that happened around U.S. unemployment, he brought that down to historic lows. That's actually a thing that he did. And, you know, Biden and Macron, right? If we're looking at Europe, for example, they have been stalwart defenders of Ukraine. And these were things that appeal to that population of people. They're like, okay, well, this is right. Even though, for whatever reason, those rules did not apply to the Palestinian people, racism much. Anyway, okay. Here's the strategy that Kamala Harris ought to play. And I'm not just going to say this is what I think. I'm not going to say that this is what you think or this is what we know. No, you know how we've all been saying, hey, turns out that so-called Democrats or progressives or liberals or leftists, maybe you shouldn't run on right-wing policies. And we have known that to be true in our hearts and in our spirits. And we've known that to be true in other ways, but it's very hard to gather empirical data and research to support that. Well, guess what I have today? I have that very thing, thanks to the Progressive Politics Research Network. That's a big mouthful for big brains, big smarty-arties. They have actual proof. They have been following analysis of the European electoral system and polling data for the last couple decades, so they know, and they've been tracking the fact that adopting right-wing policies on issues like immigration and the economy. So again, you're going to hear Kamala Harris spit some really hard facts on immigration, which we've talked about. It's really weird. It's draconian. It's like a play right out of Donald Trump's book. And she's going to do the same thing on the economy. But here's the thing. That doesn't work. The analysis, which was published earlier this year, shows that center-left parties, right, promising to be tough on immigration or public spending, are unlikely to attract potential voters on the right and risk alienating existing progressive supporters. So the logic that they use to say, well, we have to do this because we need to appeal to the right. How about you appeal to your actual supporters, you idiots? Okay, sorry, it might be the morning for you or the night, so I'm going to try not to yell. But we have said this over and over again, but now we have actual quantifiable proof and data. It doesn't work. And this idea that you're going to somehow appeal to this phantom population on the right, what are you talking about? But let's say it did work, right? Let's say it really did. Oops, I just kicked something because I'm upset. But let's say, so Tariq Abu Chadi, he is an associate professor of European politics at the University of Oxford and the co-founder of this little think tank. This is what he had to say. I love this. He said, voters tend to prefer the original to the copy. What a fucking banger of a line. Say that again. Voters tend to prefer the original to the copy. That means that we don't have any original OGs up in this. We just have a bunch of Dems that are talking left and governing right. What he said was, we're looking to provide a more solid, accurate foundation for an open political debate about progressive politics, right? That's what they're trying to do, which means who votes for progressive parties and why and the strategies available to them. This involves a bit of myth busting. So yeah, the myths that he busts are the idea. I don't know why, but the myths that he busts, that just sounded very sexual and made me uncomfortable. Like, did it to you? Okay. I made myself uncomfortable with that. Anyway. You know how they keep saying that the more center you get, you're going to get the extreme right wing and those extremist far right radicals, and they're going to come back on the same page. Well, guess what? The analysis showed there's very little actual competition between the center left and the radical right. As some social democratic politicians argue, you know what that means? It means that our politicians don't understand social structures in the 21st century. Okay, I'm going to stop talking in these big words because I'm upsetting myself. But okay. Let's say let me position the argument that they use, right? They say, well, we have to do this. We have to go center-right because that stops fascism from happening. If we don't go center-right and we don't go moderate, fascism is going to happen. Okay, that's a really interesting argument. It's just that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Why didn't it work in Europe? Hold on, I got these really good facts and then I dropped it. Okay, here we go. Okay. So centrist politicians, right, they don't want to offend the rich. They don't want to address deep income inequality. They want to enact economic policies that average people find frustrating, and that's what they've been doing. We've been getting played. So why didn't it work for us? Let's actually go back. Centrist politicians defend their adoption of these conservative politics, and they argue this is the only way to keep out fascism, right? So how come Obama was succeeded by Donald Trump? Why has Marine Le Pen's national rally gotten so much stronger? And now we have Macron on the back foot. Why is it that the class of Republicans that took control of the House 2 years ago, right, in the middle of Biden's presidency, why do they happen to be the most radical right-wing group to run the chamber in recent times? We all know they're wreaking havoc even amongst the GOP, right? This happened in the middle of Biden's presidency. Biden, at the time where he was running again, Biden as of June was tied in the polls with Donald Trump, even though the Republican candidate at that time was very unpopular. Let's go to the EU, right? Those parliamentary elections that we've seen, more success across far-right parties. They've done better than they ever have before, right? We've seen success in Germany on the far right, on a literal far-right platform. They have more seats than they have and more space than they've ever had in parliament since World War II ended. So if what they're saying is true, then why do they keep winning? The far right. It turns out that it's actually not true. What is helping the far right and right-wing extremes in Europe and in the US is because they keep adopting and legitimizing far right-wing policies. And when you adopt those far right-wing policies, well, you make those guys sound like they seem like they're making a hell of a lot more sense, aren't they? We are playing to lose. And when I say we, let's be clear about who we're talking about. Every time that our politicians adopt right-wing principles and practices and policies, they lose ground to them. This is no longer anecdotal. It's no longer a feeling that we have. This is actual quantifiable data that we can posit and say, well, we're right. And I don't know about you, but I take immense satisfaction in it. It matters more that we win, but I take immense satisfaction in being right. We are losing ground. Reading the polls and staying in the political center seems like it should work, but it doesn't. It doesn't work. And if you actually oppose fascism and oppose far-right extremism, if you actually think Donald Trump is disgusting, as we hear all these Democrats say, then why the fuck do you keep talking like him? Why do you keep moving like him? Why do you keep trying to appeal to that base? And more you alienate the base of supporters that actually would have your back if you just stopped sending billions of dollars to Israel. If you stopped treating immigrants like they were subhuman. If you did some economic policy reform and maybe threw more money towards our public education system. The only reason that Kamala Harris is talking about the need for housing is because of advocates and people like you who said, hey, build more fucking houses, and you worked hard enough to make it happen. We are the ones that push them into creating policies. Remember that reference that I made to the NDP in an episode? I don't know, I did it sometime last week or something like that, where the NDP, right, Canada's third party, was able to get the liberals under Justin Trudeau, that's right, the liberals, to work with them, right? They said, we'll support you, but only if you give a free dental program to the poor, and only if you stop incentivizing scabs to undermine unions and workers on strike. That's what they fought for. We could literally be in a completely different world and a different place, but I'm telling you right now that if Kamala Harris comes out with this center fucking strategy, this centrist nonsense, I don't know. Lady, we're going to have a serious problem. It's not a winning strategy. People keep saying, even these independent voters, even these centrist voters, right? And I'm using centrism, like there's a bunch of terms, right? Centrist, center-right, neoliberal, conservative, whatever, right? The people who are not bigots and fucking weirdos, right? They keep saying, well, Kamala Harris needs to show us that she's different from Biden. I wish she would. I absolutely wish she would. It's time. It's time for Kamala Harris to step out of Biden's shadow. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you don't, you're just standing in Trump's. What's the point? What's the point in having a Democratic president? And again, I'm going to tell you, use a strategy about every lever of power. But my God, are we going to have to be critical of this? Because this is, it makes me want to rip my edges out. But the 2000s did that already. The braids were too tight. I'm so angry. Because if she just dipped her toe in a little bit of populism, right? If she could just say that the rich and powerful are stealing from us, if she could appeal to voters who are in the political center with left-wing policies, actual left-wing policies, we would see some real movement. Kamala Harris is neck and neck with Donald Trump right now. Neck and neck. Does that sound like a winning strategy to you? The reason why Democrats struggle so hard against loser Republicans is because they sound like them, they look like them, they walk like them, they talk like them. We need something else, and it's not Jill Stein. So, it's not Bidenomics. We have this moment, y'all. I mean, just think about the wave that happened. We have this moment. We had this incredible moment. It shows that people want change. We want something different. It's up to Kamala Harris to tell us tomorrow, or rather tonight. Yeah, tonight, whether she's that guy or not. And if she's not, well, you already know. The fight continues. We have lived through the most horrendous presidencies imaginable. We've lived through, there's never been a great one, to be honest with you, but I'll just say this. We're here, we were there yesterday, we're here today, we'll be there tomorrow. The fight continues. But it would be fucking great to have somebody who actually represented something that we believed. Anyway, in conclusion, it doesn't work. It doesn't work to run on a garbage platform. It doesn't work to use coal to run a nuclear plant. Losers. It doesn't work if a house is on fire and we're like, hey, we need some water. And you're like, those fucking immigrants? That's what the Democrats sound like right now. Would love to see that change. Anyway. Don't forget to pick up your copy of A Broom of One's Own. I'm so annoyed at everyone today. Anyway, why don't we hit the VMs for that question of the day?
Hi, my name is Damia, and my question is, if you could listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I want to sound so cool right now and tell you guys, like, this gangster-ass song. But the song that I would listen to for the rest of my life is Jesus of Suburbia by Green Day. That song just gets me. And then the second one after that would probably be something by the Mountain Goats. Like Training Montage. I don't want to be this person. I am. Blame my dog, who she turned me into an angsty Caucasian. Blame Sula for it. No, I do listen to a lot of grime, UK grime and hip hop. I do need to say really quickly though, I love UK grime because I love how gangster they sound, but every time I hear these niggas talk, I get stressed out. You know, it's like, what's up, fam? I'm like, you are not a roadman. Offer me some tea, nigga. Like, give me some Earl Grey. I don't take you seriously for a second outside of the song. But anyway, that's what I listen to. Obviously, I gotta say K.Dot too, but nah, it's Jesus of Suburbia by Green Day. That's my number one, and Spotify is ready to tell me at the end of the year, every fucking year, that this is my most listened to song. They say, my God, you were such a Green Day fan. And you know what? I am. You'd think that I was a white kid that grew up in the suburbs and called my mom a bitch, but I'm not. I was very respectful, and I was not that boy. Anyway, this centrist strategy is bullshit. With that, why don't we cue up that music so that I can yell some more another day? Thank you all so much for listening to the end of the day. You know it means the world to me. This show really is a labor of love. New episodes drop 4 times a week. We're available everywhere podcasts are streaming. Kamala Harris, please don't embarrass us. Don't embarrass us. Don't embarrass us. Anyway, drop your voice note questions at jfktodayShow@gmail.com. I mean it. I read the emails. Anyway, shout out to KR, Carolyn, and the JFK team. And shout out to you, the listeners.